Fortnite competitive is officially moving back to duos in 2026, and the crazy thing is we've got 4 whole duo lands. So in today's video, I'm going to break down how to play duos like a pro. This weekend, we have got the duos trial. This is going to put you into the best division possible. If you place in the top 1,000, you're going to go into Div 2. The top 3,000, you're going to go into Div 3. And if you place in the top 13,000, you're going to go into Div 4. And below that, you're going to be stuck in Div 5. We've also got a whopping 15 plus duo cups this season where you can rank up and get into a higher division. And this video is going to be invaluable for you guys. If you're an IGL, a fragger, you want to find better at refreshes, this video is going to be perfect for you. So let's go straight into this with early game fighting. Now for early game, these guys are of course landing at resistance base, and they do a couple of interesting things for kills during the early stage of the game. The first one that they do is they throw down a high launch pad, and they basically just use that to scout out other teams nearby, and they spot this pretty bad team, no offense to these guys, on the very edge of the map. And the key thing is, whenever you scout out and get info from a high launch pad like this, is you know exactly where both players are. Now as soon as these guys have this information, what are they going to do? They land, they regroup, they make sure to be 75 meters away from both players right here, so they don't actually give away their location, and they're going to fizz up, throw down a crash pad, and these fizz crash pads are genuinely the best way of getting kills. The key reason is you're so far away from the player that you're going to end up landing on that they don't see the visual audio of the crash pad. I believe the range on that is about 50 meters, so you don't show up on the visual audio, and you also don't make any noise as you fly in on this team right here. So as you can see, this guy's completely unaware, they're able to land, and the key thing is they don't even piece, they just insta start shooting, getting damage onto this player, and they end up taking him out just like that. And again, another high launch pad, this time with a fizz to scout out, look out for the other remaining solo, as well as look for more potential W keys in a second using the fizz crash technique. They spot another team rotating in front, tanking storm, and what do these guys do? They fly straight onto the player's head, keep on spraying as they go over, get a load of damage, and of course they're going to win this fight with that massive amount of opening damage that they do. The key thing is though, as they're mid-game fighting right here, they're not rushing to end the fight insta. Instead, they take their time, they're nice and slow. Sphinx plays a nice slow angle right here when he's got the guy full box, basically holds the other player in. What Smud's going to do, comes in from the side angle, and they take the 2v1 and take out the other player. You need to be very careful this season as you do plays like this, that you don't get pushed by another team. This team right here, they've got the kill onto half of that duo, so you got to be careful they don't push over. So these guys, they pause for a second, they get themselves absolutely stacked in storm, and then they're going to finally rotate out in a minute or so. Now another very good way to get easy kills during the mid game is to get nice timings when you're third partying. So as you can see right here, they spot this other team fighting and third partying, and they see that there's a knock in the feed, as you can see right here. So they know there's a knocked body somewhere in here. The key thing is though, they don't just rush straight in and start 50-50. Instead what they do is they're nice and patient, they block all of the angles, and they make it incredibly hard for this team inside, so the duo is still remaining, to have any counterplay at this point in time. Take a look at how patient Muzz is right here. He fully replaces, he does get caught out, but as soon as he trades that shot, what does he do? He backs all the way up, nice little right hand peek right there, edits the cone as well to block off the other player, and gets the opening knock. And now they know there's 2 solos in this building, because first of all, they've knocked one, and they saw that trade knock in the feed. They know there's still 2 solos, and they're continuing to fight. At this point in time, Sphinx continues playing incredibly well, takes his time, doesn't rush getting into the building. Instead, he's just crouching around, lurking, doing a little bit of a, lurk play, trying to find this opening kill onto the remaining solo, and Muzz keeps on pressuring from the other side. And now, this is literally textbook duo fighting, is they've got a perfect pinch, and they're in a 2v1, and they're not going to let this other player run out at them and take loads of damage in return. So even when Sphinx gets hit to low HP right here, what does he do? He doesn't keep on fighting. He pauses, boxes up, and they know that the solo probably wants to dip from the 2v1. Both look over, get an easy kill on the player trying to dip out, and just like that, they've got 3 kills from an early game Osborne kill, as well as 2 kills on a nice little cleanup on a third party. Now, of course, not every single game in duos is your early and mid game going to be absolutely perfect. These guys, this game, Muzz got knocked twice and thirsted twice, so they had to reboot really deep into Storm. And this is one thing, if you ever have your teammate get knocked in a fight, don't feel the need to ego fight and keep on fighting the other team and trying to 1v2. Sometimes it's better to just fizz, crash pad, disengage from the fight, and start tanking Storm and get yourself into consistent endgames to get the highest division possible. And that's exactly what these guys did. Even in this all-pro lobby, they managed to tank Storm, get themselves really deep into circles so they can reboot completely for free without anybody else chasing them inside. And of course, this season, there is so much extra loot that you can rotate to get. You can head to any one of the bug spawn locations, the Hive, any of the big POIs have loads of extra heals, and these guys make sure to farm up their high yield mats, their wooden brick insta. They don't prioritize metal, and instead they rotate straight into the black market, which is so important. When you head into these black markets, provided you have around 50 gold, which you always spawn at every single game, you can actually just straight up buy crash pads. So these guys are able to get themselves 6 crash pads, so now they're absolutely chilling for the end game. And of course, because they captured a flag early in the game, they've got some gold, so they're able to buy mid kits, get themselves back up to 200 HP, can even farm some metal. And now, despite the fact they get knocked twice earlier in the game, they are alive and they're going to be able to win this game by executing some nice mid-game strategies in the second tier. If you're interested in getting to the best division possible and performing your absolute peak in duos, then you need to go check out the Masterclass Academy. We're going to be running weekly duo coaching calls with pro guests as well as pro coaches the whole way up and into 2026, starting tonight. And the best part is you get all of this, a full prep session and post session for every single solo series, and weekly upgrades to your gameplay for only $9 a month. This is genuinely the best deal for Fortnite coaching that you can get, and we've already had some crazy feedback from the players from the very first cup they've played. Click the link below to sign up to the Masterclass Academy and fast track your progress to going pro. Now for mid-game rotates, there is something very important that you need to do every single game. The first one is make sure that you're always refarming your mats as much as possible, which is exactly what Sphinx is doing right here. He's refarming, he's pre-building boxes, getting ready so they can early rotate for the next zone before this zone even closes in fully, just because they know it's quite unlikely that they pull zone right here. So you need to get ready with your rotates early. This allows you, as soon as you scout out and get some info, so double check, where people are around you. Is there teams that can potentially hold you in front, or is there teams on the back side right here that you don't want to be late rotating with? And I would always recommend in duos, guys, try to early rotate with a fizz and a nice little angled crash just like this. You can either do the single tile edit or just a straight up double tile so you don't go flying up into the air. It's a lot harder to get beamed. And as you can see, these guys get a nice early rotate, little bunny hop at the end, but you need to be very careful about double crash padding because there is a full damage bug in the game at the moment. So these guys just bunny hop as soon as they land, and they get themselves into a nice position where they're now one of the first teams rotating in, and they're going to start looking for a potential kill on rotate here. They don't actually fully need this kill, but you can see they need a little bit of materials. They're a little bit shambles right here in terms of loot. They look for a very, very safe kill, like an angled sort of look down play on another team trying to get a 3-2-1 kill. But the key thing is, as soon as this play doesn't work and they don't kill one of the other team, look what they do. They both just disengage from the fight and they start focusing on their rotate and also making sure they're not risking dying in this awkward back zone position. Now there's a point in time, Sphinx does exactly perfect just as before, is he scouts, gets info, he makes sure to block this tree so they don't bump into it as they crash, and just like that, perfect fizz crash, little angled fizz crash as well, and they're heading up towards the dead side right here. The reason you don't want to be rotating into, low ground water zone positions like right here is the fact that if the next zone pulls far, so the partial zone pulls far, you're going to be in a really difficult, challenging spot. If these guys go up towards the north, up towards the dead side right here, first of all, they can refarm their mats quite easily as they rotate in, but also they're just less likely to get held by this team in front, and of course, they're not going to be in a really tough position if someone was to play max next zone. You need to always play duos, especially for an IG and you're watching this, always play it one zone ahead, think about where the next zone could fall, think about what would happen if you got a max distant zone, and that will basically always prevent you being in scuffed positions. Now, as the partial zones close in, as you can see right here, you're going to be faced with a very, very tough rotate the majority of time to make it to the 8th circle. There's a couple key things that you need to do before you ever try rotating this zone. The first one is make sure that the IGL, so the guy who's going to be tarping and building the boxes, make sure he is capped up on hard materials just in case you ever end up a little bit scut. So these guys do a little bit of a split mats and they realize, oh, Sphinx still doesn't have enough mats and he's going to be building, so they give him even more metal just to make sure that he can make a load of space as they land. You never want to be landing and building a wood wall by accident or a brick wall by accident. You're always going to be trying to build as much metal to make sure you're as safe as possible and you don't die to a pre-edit or something risky. Then the really key thing that you need to do is scout out and get lots of information and plan your rotates. As you can see, this zone is very challenging, so it doesn't actually play inside the current circle, so everybody has to move. This means when everybody has to move, the timing of your rotate is really, really important. And how do you decide a good timing for a rotate? Well, quite simply, you need to scout and get lots of information. Short Sphinx has been doing very well throughout this entire game and making sure their rotates are super clean. You can see he's scouting out the backside, making sure, and he's aware of how many people are behind him. Then he continues to scout out towards the front side of zone. And the key thing that he's looking for here is a position that they can get to that's going to be far enough away from congested side. So congested side is normally where the previous zone had just closed in and loads of people are going to be rotating in and it's going to become very, very busy. You want to really avoid those congested side. Thing is though, you can't wait too long and end up going dead side because that's just going to get you focused. You're probably going to get beamed in the air. So you need to find a nice sweet spot in the middle where you can rotate, where nobody's going to be looking at you, and you can also very, very effectively not take any damage. So that's exactly what these guys do. They do a nice little angled crash pad, they spot a perfect timing where they're able to get up, and they very crucially layer up on this zone. The reason why you don't ever want to be down on low ground in this position is just because it's going to make your first moving rotate incredibly tough, especially if you get a bad zone pull. You always need to prepare for the worst case zone, and these guys are in a perfect position right here. I would argue they're in the best spot on the lobby, because if this hype team doesn't pull zone, they're going to have a very tough rotate. So no matter where this next zone pulls, the first moving, these guys are in a perfect position to rotate and get to a high layer and not take any risks. Now, you guys should be in endgame, and if you've managed your mid games well, you should be in a position where you have at least 1,000 materials between you and your duo. The thing is, when you have 1,000 materials going into endgame, of course, you're not as stacked as some teams in the lobby. Like, there's going to be some team out there with 3k mats that's going to be absolutely chilling. But you need to make it work, and the reason I want to show you this game is they're able to win this game with absolutely no crash pads. They use all of their crash pads on the earlier zone rotates, and they managed to rotate this endgame with only a 20 fizz at this point in time. So first of all, what are they doing right here? They're looking for a kill box. They basically created a very safe peak, but they're not looking backside, you know, for people fighting back here. And the reason you don't want to look backside for kills and duos is because if you get a kill back here, first of all, you've got to run really far to get it. Loads of other people could be looking back and shooting you as you go get the kill. And also, you're going to be tanking way too much storm, and you're going to be in a much worse position. The thing is, if you look front side for a kill, so you do one of these little peak boxes and you look front side and you're able to get a knock, or you hit somebody down to 1 HP and you can push them, you're now pushing into zone. So it's much safer, and it's a much better play to actually get a kill. However, unfortunately, they're not able to find a kill right here, and they're also below storm surge. So they continue rotating. First thing they do is they layer up in the middle of zone right here. So they do a nice little layer up, and they get themselves into a little bit of an awkward spot where they get cut off. The key thing is though, as soon as they get cut off by this other duo who crash bands their head, is they don't stop. And you guys shouldn't be taking too many pauses during the middle of moving zone, especially when you're on the backside and you're one of the last teams rotating in. You don't just want to pause, sit there refizzing. Instead, these guys continue rotating. They get themselves into a nice high layer just like before, and now they finally take a pause in this nice position right here. And they also make sure to pause in brick. The reason you want to pause in brick in duos, it's just so it's much harder to get seen, to get spotted, to get dropped down. You never want to be pausing in wood or pausing in metal. It's a little bit too easy for other teams to see you. Now at this point, these guys still aren't in the end of zone, and they're also not in a good position to get a kill because they're still on that backside. You want to be trying to get towards the front side and then look for a kill from there, which is exactly what these guys do. So how do they do this next rotate with only, you know, a 15 fizz? The first thing they do is they spot the height up here, as you can see, is way too wide and is actually busy fighting another team. Whenever you spot that high ground is completely distracted, this is basically your ticket to have a free rotate by just doing a nice little fizz jump just like this. And these guys do exactly that. They fizz jump, they connect, and very crucially right here is they're getting towards the dead side of zone. They're not actually rotating in on congested side where everyone else is, and it's going to make it very scuffed to find a kill because there's so many people around you. You've got too many things to look at. Instead, what they do is they get themselves towards the dead side of zone, and they do a nice little straight tarp, some backward stairs, again building a brick, now swapping into metal as they get into the end of zone. It's a little bit more of a permanent base, and they start looking for a kill. And the reason they're actually able to get this kill is they're only looking at one team. If they were on congested side right here where everybody else is, you can see Aegis, Iomzo, Mero's in here, all of these other really good players, first of all, they're going to have a hard time actually finding a kill just because there's too many people around them, too many boxes being built. And also, if they get a kill, they're going to get third parties straight away and probably go down. So what do? They look for a nice little opportunity on this team, and they're not able to find it. The team keeps on tarping in, but they keep their eyes on that team. And also, before next zone swaps, they keep on scouting, keep on getting info, even more mat split, getting ready for the next zone. Luckily for them, they get a zone pull straight back right here. And they realize because zone is pulling back for them, it's also pulling back for the rest of the lobby, including that team that they were looking at earlier. And look at this beautiful play they do. They spot this team is on this half HP wooden floor. They chop in, piece control the back, nice little pump right there, and they take out both players without taking too much damage in return. And the really key thing is they're not getting third party. I mean, there's one person sort of shooting them from a distance, but there's nobody just jumping straight in their box. If they did get knocked doing that play, they'd probably be able to get the res off and also be completely stacked after it as well. As soon as they get that kill, Sphinx does a very good play right here, makes some space, realizes all of these old enemy builds are actually safe because they just took out that team, and they're able to tarp on the side of zone just like before. And now these guys are in a really strong position. They've got another 1,000 materials from that refresh, and they're going to be able to win this game just off that one kill alone. Another very nice play that you can do in duos is a lot more high risk, is going for a pre-edit. And these guys tend to do this at the end of zone when everybody is fully boxed up and they hear another team fighting nearby. So they get the pre-edit on, they slide in cones as well as placing in the wall at the same time, and just like that, they're able to get a free double kill onto this duo right here. The thing is though, I'm going to recommend that you guys don't play for pre-edits. The main reason being is whenever you pre-edit and fully fight a team, it's very easy for another team to come into your edit edits that you've got behind you. And of course, that is going to get them killed right here. Team runs straight through the edits, nothing they can do. Sphinx goes down and Muzz is left in the solo clutch, which is unfortunately he's not able to pull off. I would recommend playing for refreshes in the way that we're going to take a look at next. All right, now if you guys are a tarper in duos, you need to really pay attention to how Sphinx rotates this next zone. So as you can see right here, they have positioned themselves very, very well. They are on the fully left-hand side of this zone. And a big mistake that people make when they're tarping in duos is they swap their edge and try to go towards the center or go to the other side of the zone. And Sphinx knows that this is a bad play. So he instead layers up. So he goes up one layer very, very nicely. And he keeps on sticking to this left-hand side. But now he has got front side and he's also on a much better layer to look for a kill. As you can see, they start looking around for a kill, but they're not fully aggro in going for a kill. The really key thing is whenever you get a refresh is you don't need to chain it straight into another refresh. You should let the refreshes come to you. Even if it really hits the other player 100 right there, what do? They start scouting, figuring out their next rotate. Nice little rotate right here, bouncing their heads along the floors, and they get themselves into the exact same position as before on the left-hand side of zone in a perfect spot for when the next zone is going to pull in a second here. Now, at this point in time, Sphinx makes an incredibly good call. Zone actually pulls down, as you can see over this way, and he starts layering down and actually claiming a lower layer ahead of other teams. And this is such an important play to make because, of course, you don't want to be sitting on second height at this point in the game. High ground's going to start spraying you, especially if you're front side in your pull zone. So Sphinx realizes this. He drops down a couple layers. They even tank a little bit of Storm to do this, and they get into the situation where they have now cut off this other team, as you can see right here, and they're going to do a very nice play. Grab the wall on the other team, just like that. Sphinx hits a nice little shot, and immediately after they get this kill, what do? They don't chase the other kill. I mean, Muzz does for a second, other player just dips out, and Sphinx throws the body back, tells Muzz to come back, and they immediately both get regrouped, and they're now in an incredibly good position to win this game off that second kill they got right there. Now, at this point, these guys execute the exact same game plan as before for their mid ground. A nice high layer where they're not actually getting sprayed out by height. They cut off front sides, they start tanking a little bit of Storm on front side, and they start scouting out height. And this is a really good play to do whenever you do a tarp towards front side. It's just scout out height and realize how shambles are height. And as you can see, this high ground player is dropping off. They're getting themselves, fully scuffed on backside. They're basically full sending height. And this tells Sphinx that he can go for height and a little bit of while. And it's probably best to go for a refresh first while high ground is busy griefing himself. And that's exactly what they do. Take a look at this really nice refresh play that they do right here. First of all, very, very essential stuff whenever you get in a refresh is block off all your angles. Don't leave an open angle where somebody could sneak in and one pump one of you. They block off all of the angles. You can see completely airtight, even in the whole back tarp over here. You never want to have an open wall or an open edit you could get a shot at as you're doing a refresh play, because obviously you're going to be distracted by the fight that you're going to have. And they do an incredibly nice play right here. They grab the floor on Yomzo, drop him down straight into a little max damage shot right there, and they take him out. And just like that, you guys should know the playbook at this point in time. They get the refresh, they get themselves completely stacked for the heals, they get around 1,000 materials in total from that, and they immediately cut off front side, start scouting out height. And now you can see, this is when the high ground's becoming incredibly free, is all of these players up on height backside have, fallen off, or they've got themselves killed to Storm, and now there's only one shambles player up on the height right here who's only building on wood. Even though it's the coin player, it's Aegis, very, very good. Obviously, it's impossible for him to hold height if you do the high ground take correctly in a second. Now, when it comes to this high ground take, Muzz does something very important here that I want you guys to learn. There is, of course, a bunch of different ways that you can go for height. I think the best way to go for height in duos is by having one player build up on an angle on the front side of zone, like Muzz right here, and trying to exchange some damage, trying to get a crack onto the high ground player in this situation. He hits him 93, there's sort of exchange shots, and what is Sphinx going to do is he's going to very, very patiently play his life. He's not going to take too much damage doing some crazy peaks. He's not going to 50-50, and he's just going to try to crank up from a different side of zone. So Muzz is keeping them busy on the backside, and Sphinx is going to go up, tarp up with a little single ramp right here, and they're both going to look up now from the same angle. Key reason this works now, even though the high ground player is getting contested by a solo as well as he's popped a slurp, is because they're playing the same angle now. So they've regrouped after getting initial damage while split. So you can see, just like this, Muzz gets cracked, but he gets into the same box with Sphinx right here. And of course, what is Sphinx going to do? He's going to layer up. Aegis gets into his box and he hits a nice little max damage shot. And just like that, they have got high ground established. And from this point in the game, they're going to close it out. They could have kept on playing mid ground, but I really like the choice. As soon as they get a refresh, 11th zone onto Yomzo right there, they start playing and being very, very aggressive for high ground. And what do they do in this situation right here is they don't drop straight away until they dealt with the solo, as you can see. So there's still a solo running around in the lobby. There's 5 people up, 3 teams. They know there's a duo and a solo. So they don't drop down super aggressively fighting duo until that they deal with this solo, as you can see, running around backside. Always got to be careful in case the solo runs up and it's a little one pump, or maybe it's a double pump onto one of you. So they let the solo and they force him down, so he's being aggressive towards the low ground team. And the key thing that this low ground Logan team has now got to worry about is, first of all, they've got to worry about the hype players, so Muzz and Sphinx right here. They also have to worry about getting, you know, potential heal off, med mist, as well as potential mats from this kill. And this gives Muzz up on high ground with a very, very good aim, a very free opportunity to get a crack right there. What does Sphinx do? He starts dropping down, being very, very aggressive. Very nice aim by these two players in the box right here, where they sort of whiff a bunch of shots. And of course, what's Muzz going to do? He's left in a 1v2 situation. One player's actually got knocked on the backside of zone already, and this player is left scrambling, not able to tank Storm for as long as possible. This guy's running back, trying to find the whites. Muzz is able to get that siphon on the body since the guy died to Storm. And just like that, Muzz is left in a 1v1. He spots the other player isn't playing heal off on visual audio. You can see this guy's not actually popping anything. So Muzz knows all he has to do is keep sliding away, keep moving around the builds, and he's able to get a very, very nice free win to be the first player on NA to earn this season. Really well played game by these guys, and there's definitely a lot to learn. How to IGL, how to top, as well as how to find refreshes in duos. So I hope you guys appreciate this video. Please leave a like, and make sure to go check out the Masterclass Academy, link down below. We're going to have a load of duo sessions for pro coaches as well as pro guests coming up this season.